Before you scroll, listen closely, because this is one of those stories people wish they'd heard sooner. If you believe small towns hide big secrets, if you believe one choice can turn an entire community against you, and if you believe courage sometimes looks like defiance, then this story is for you. Stories like this don't just entertain, they linger. So before we begin, take 1 second to subscribe, because the stories we share here are the kind you'll talk about long after the screen goes dark. Now listen carefully, because everyone warned him, don't look there. And the moment he did, everything changed. Don't look there, they told him, not with words at first but with the way conversations stopped when his boots crossed the saloon floor, with the way church hymns faltered when his shadow stretched across the pews, with the way children were quietly pulled indoors when his horse slowed near the old cottonwood fence. Yet the rancher kept staring because some instincts are older than rules and some truths refused to stay buried, and Cole Mercer had spent his life learning the difference between danger and deception, growing up on a stretch of land so dry it taught him patience and so wide it taught him silence, inheriting the ranch after his father's sudden death and his mother's slow disappearance into grief, becoming a man known for fairness rather than warmth, for reliability rather than charm, until the day he noticed the abandoned Holloway property at the edge of the valley no longer looked abandoned at all, because lights flickered at odd hours and smoke curled from a chimney that everyone swore had collapsed years ago, and when Cole asked about it he was met with laughter that came too fast and answers that came too rehearsed. No one lives there, they said, best keep your eyes on your own land, but Cole had learned long ago that warnings delivered without reason were often hiding something rotten underneath, so he began to watch. Not with the hunger of a gossip but with the steady attention of a man who knows land and people the way some men know numbers, and what he saw unsettled him. A woman moving carefully through the fields at dawn, a young boy carrying water from the creek, shadows that didn't belong to ghosts but to lives lived quietly and deliberately out of sight, and the more he looked the louder the town became in its disapproval, old friends avoiding him, business deals cooling, a polite but firm suggestion from the sheriff to mind his own affairs. Yet Cole kept staring because the woman's posture reminded him of his mother before grief bent her spine, because the boy's limp echoed his own childhood injury, because nothing about them looked like a threat, and everything about the town's reaction did, and so one evening, against every warning and every whispered threat, Cole rode to the Holloway fence and called out, not demanding answers but offering water, and what followed was the kind of silence that weighs more than noise, until the woman stepped forward, wary but proud, introducing herself as Mara with a voice that held both fear and resolve, explaining in fragments how she had arrived after a factory fire up north, how the boy, Eli, was her nephew, how they had been turned away from town after town once people learned where they'd come from, how Holloway land was the only place no one bothered to guard because everyone believed it cursed, and Cole listened as anger bloomed slow and dangerous in his chest, because he understood then that the town hadn't been protecting itself from these people but protecting a lie rooted decades back when the Holloways had been run out over a land dispute that ended in flames and false testimony, and as Cole rode home that night the stares sharpened into glares and the warnings turned into ultimatums, a note nailed to his barn door reading leave it alone, another slipped under his pillow reading or else, but Cole had already decided, because once you truly see something, looking away becomes a betrayal of self, and the next morning he did the thing that enraged everyone. He brought Mara and Eli into town in broad daylight, stood with them at the general store, spoke their names aloud as if naming them made them real, and the reaction was immediate and volcanic, voices rising, old accusations resurrected, fingers pointing as if blame were contagious, the sheriff demanding explanations, the pastor calling for calm while refusing to meet Mara's eyes, and Cole standing firm, not shouting, not pleading, simply refusing to move, and in that moment the town split cleanly into before and after, supporters and enemies, silence and confrontation, and what followed was not a single explosive event but a grinding campaign of pressure. Cattle poisoned, fences cut, contracts withdrawn, bank loans questioned, all meant to teach Cole the price of defiance, while Mara worked quietly on the ranch, repairing what was broken, cooking meals that tasted of gratitude rather than charity, Eli growing stronger under Cole's patient guidance, and slowly, painfully, truths emerged, old court records unearthed, inconsistencies in testimonies, A retired judge admitting in a moment of whiskey-loosened honesty that the Holloways had been sacrificed to keep powerful men comfortable, and as evidence mounted the town's rage shifted from outward to inward, neighbors turning on neighbors, fear replacing certainty, and when the final confrontation came, at a packed town meeting where Cole laid everything bare, from land deeds to sworn statements, the outrage reached its peak, because people will forgive cruelty more easily than they forgive being exposed. Yet even then Cole did not waver, and when the state investigator arrived weeks later, summoned by an anonymous tip that everyone suspected but no one could prove came from Cole, the truth finally landed with the dull thud of inevitability, charges filed, reputations shattered, apologies offered too late to matter, and through it all Cole learned the cost of seeing clearly, because victory didn't come with applause but with quiet nights and fewer friends, yet also with something truer, a sense of alignment, of standing where his father would have stood and his mother would have wanted him to stand. And as the town slowly adjusted, as new families arrived and old lies lost their grip, Cole found that the thing that had enraged everyone had also changed everything, because staring where you're told not to look is sometimes the only way a broken place begins to heal. And years later, when children played freely on land once feared and a weathered sign at the edge of the Valley Red Holloway Mercer Cooperative Ranch, Cole would still remember the warnings, still remember the anger, and know with absolute certainty that looking away would have been the real crime.